Good evening. This is the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Egypt and Ethiopia agreed to finalize a deal over Ethiopia's mega dam on the Blue Nile within 4 months. Ukraine receives United States cluster munitions to help boost Kiev's counteroffensive. And the Syrian government allows the United Nations to use a border crossing from Turkey for another 6 months. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The Sultanate of Oman issued a statement as follows. The Sultanate of Oman expressed its support for the outcomes of the summit of the neighboring countries of Sudan, which was held yesterday in the Egyptian capital, and its call for the parties in the conflict in the Republic of Sudan to abide by the ceasefire, ending the fighting to stop bloodshed, facilitating the arrival of humanitarian aid, affirming full respect for Sudan's sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity, and non-interference in its internal affairs. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry expressed appreciation for the efforts led by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, in convening the summit in support of the endeavors aimed at reaching a comprehensive and sustainable peaceful solution that meets the aspirations of the brotherly Sudanese people for security and stability. Egypt and Ethiopia agreed yesterday to finalize a deal over Ethiopia's controversial mega dam on the Blue Nile within 4 months, a breakthrough after years of tensions between the two countries. The massive $4.2 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has been at the center of a regional dispute ever since Ethiopia broke ground on the project in 2011, with Egypt fearing it will slash its share of Nile water. In Cairo, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed discussed ways of overcoming the current stalemate in negotiations over the dam, a joint statement published by the Egyptian presidency said. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's religious nationalist government has promoted a record number of housing units in settlements in the occupied West Bank in its first 6 months. Most countries deem Jewish settlements built on land Israel occupied in 1967 Middle East war as illegal, and their continued expansion has for decades been among the most contentious issues between Israel, the Palestinians, and the international community. Since January, Israel has advanced 12,855 settler housing units across the West Bank, said Peace Now, the highest number the group has recorded since it started tracking such activity in 2012. According to the United Nations, some 700,000 settlers live in 279 settlements across the West Bank and East Jerusalem, up from 520,000 in 2012. More than 3 million Palestinians who live in the same area are subjected to Israeli military rule. Ukraine's armed forces have received cluster munitions promised by the United States to help boost Kiev's slow-moving counter-offensive. The United States last week said it would deliver cluster munitions to Ukraine to aid its battle against invading Russian forces, despite concerns over the long-term risk posed by civilians by bomblets that fail to explode. U.S. President Joe Biden said the decision to provide cluster munitions was very difficult, but stressed that Ukraine needed extra ammunition to refill its depleted stocks. The controversial weapons are banned by numerous countries, notably in Europe, that are signatories to a 2008 Oslo Convention, to which neither Russia, the United States, nor Ukraine are parties. The Kremlin has said it will take countermeasures if the weapon is deployed by Ukraine against its troops. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen urged Russian President Vladimir Putin to prolong a deal allowing the Black Sea export of Ukraine grain, saying the consequences of not doing so would be global food insecurity. The ball was now in Russia's court, with the whole world watching. Von der Leyen told the press conference alongside UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin said that Russia was set to withdraw from a deal allowing the export of Ukrainian grain via the Black Sea unless its own demands are met, reaffirming Moscow's tough stance ahead of the deal's expiry next Monday. Putin, in comments to Russian state television, also said the United Nations had so far failed to come up with a satisfactory solution to the issue, and he denied having received any letter containing proposals from the UN Secretary General. A Kremlin spokesman later clarified that Russia had not taken a final decision on whether to exit the grain deal. The United Nations and Turkey brokered the Black Sea Grain Initiative with Russia and Ukraine in July 2022 to help alleviate a global food crisis that worsened after Moscow sent forces into Ukraine and blockaded Ukrainian ports. The Syrian government said yesterday that the United Nations could use a border crossing from Turkey to continue delivering aid to northwest Syria for another 6 months after the Security Council failed to renew its authorization for the operation. The Syrian government requested the UN aid deliveries to be in full cooperation and coordination with the Syria's UN ambassador when he wrote a letter to the Security Council requesting that the UN aid deliveries to be in full cooperation and coordination with the government. The UN Security Council approval for the Turkish-based aid operation delivering help to several million people in rebel-held south or northwest Syria expired on Monday, as the council members failed to convince Russia to extend it for more than 6 months. A US B-52 strategic bomber joined military exercises with South Korea in the latest show of force after North Korea's missile launch. Japan's defense ministry said 4 of its F-2 jets and 2 US Air Force F-15C jets conducted joint air drills west of Kyushu Island on Wednesday to counter intensifying national security environments, including North Korea's ICBM launch. In the meantime, North Korea tested its latest Hwasong-18 intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, state media reported, saying the weapon is the core of its nuclear strike force and a warning to the United States and other adversaries. Southern Europe sweltered under a fierce heat wave yesterday, with a warning that temperatures could hit record highs for the continent next week. Weather alerts were in place across Spain's Canary Islands, Italy, Cyprus and Greece, with the Greek authorities expecting temperatures to reach as high as 44 Celsius. The impact of extreme weather, summer heat, has been brought into focus by research this week that said that as many as 61,000 people may have lost their lives in Europe's heat waves last summer. Meanwhile, Greece closed the ancient Acropolis during the hottest part of the day today to protect tourists, while Croatian villagers cleaned up after a wildfire as a fierce heat wave swept across southern Europe. The European Space Agency warned that Italy, Spain, France, Germany and Poland are all facing extreme conditions. Still to come in our news bulletin. With more people searching for ways to make quick money, the Royal Oman Police continues to combat cyber fraud attacks. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Oman oil price September 2023 delivery reached $82.07 per barrel. Oman oil price rose by $1.02. The average price of Oman oil July 2023 delivery reached $74.94 per barrel, thus $8.34 lower than the price of June 2023 delivery. With the lure of making quick profits, many individuals in the Sultanate of Oman fell victim to cyber fraud due to trading in digital currency platforms that are managed outside the country. The Directorate General of Criminal Investigations and Inquiries in Royal Oman Police received many reports of digital fraud as victims attempted to trade in cryptocurrency. These types of crimes are carried out by criminal groups who call their victims to convince them to open bank accounts at local banks and account in digital trading platforms. After that, the accounts are managed by the criminal groups to lure other victims to transfer funds at the premise of trading in digital platforms. After receiving substantial amounts, the criminal groups transfer the money outside the country to multiple accounts. They also transfer the digital currency to other platforms to hide their tracks, leaving their victims penniless. Another method to lure the victim to surrender the money is the man-in-the-middle attack, a cyber attack where the attacker secretly sends and alters communications between the two parties. The attacker creates a fake email account to send a message to the victim to change the account to which the payment will be released. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth organized the Painting Essentials workshop in Ibri Sports Complex in the Governorate of Al-Dhahira. The workshop was delivered by artists who taught the young participants drawing skills and how to manage colors and shades. More than 100 school students took part in the summer workshop that aims at giving the students quick guidelines on painting skills. The workshop came as part of the ministry's initiatives to encourage students to uncover their artistic skills and provide them with the needed support. The Office of the Al-Wusta Governor held a press conference to announce the visual identity and the activities of Al-Wusta Governorate Summer Forum 2023. More details in the following report.
Taking advantage of its unique natural attractions and within the keen interest in boosting the social, economic, tourism and cultural movement within the governorate, the Office of the Al-Wusta Governor, at a press conference, launched the slogan and the visual identity of the Al-Wusta Summer Forum 2023, which will take place from July 19th to August 31st, 2023. The slogan of the forum focuses on the natural attractions and components of each wilaya in the Al-Wusta Governorate, Hayma, Mahout, Ad-Duqm and Al-Jazir. The press conference also highlighted the activities of the Al-Wusta Summer Forum 2023, the most prominent of which is Hayma Station, where there will be several corners for government and private institutions, productive families, Omani women associations, Children Corner, and a theater that will host a number of weekly events. Al-Wusta Summer Forum 2023 will also feature accompanying events, including camel races in the wilayas of Hayma, Mahout, Ad-Duqm, and Al-Jazir, in addition to paragliding shows to be held at different times in the wilaya of Hayma. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi.
This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. Egypt and Ethiopia agreed to finalize a deal over Ethiopia's mega dam on the Blue Nile within 4 months. Ukraine receives United States cluster munitions to help boost Kiev's counter-offensive. And the Syrian government allows the United Nations to use a border crossing from Turkey for another 6 months. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, have a wonderful night.